Although Bluey is one of the best animations in the world, still has some mistakes, and in today's video we're going to look at some of them. In the episode, The Creek. There's a very quick and hard to notice error with one of the fan favorite characters, Mackenzie. When we see Mackenzie coming out of the bushes, we notice that his head is completely black, furred, when in reality the fur on his head is almost all black but with white spot right in the middle of his head. It was only a few frames. True, but we somehow managed to catch it. And in that same episode we noticed another error, once again involving Mackenzie. As we mentioned, the fur on his head is black and he has a white stripe right in the middle. But in one scene we see that half of his head turns black and the other half becomes completely white. Seems like animators were having a hard time with Mackenzie in this episode. Even the excellent show Bluey has some errors that everyone can spot if they look closely. Like what happens in the episode Pirate when Bandit is playing with the girls swinging in a hammock and pretending to be a pirate ship. And if you slow down the scene, watch it in slow motion, you'll notice that when he lets the hammock swing, something very strange happens. Bandit's two ears merge into one for a brief moment, creating a rather peculiar image of Blue's dad, but at the same time funny as he ends up looking like a mix between an Australian cattle dog and a unicorn pirate. In the episode Takeaway, we can notice a small animation error when Blue is playing with Bingo, pretending to work at a restaurant and take her customer's order. If you pause the scene at the right moment, you'll see this notice that the tip of Blue's snout moved faster than the rest of her face and her nose seemed to be hovering in the air. If you have watched Blue since the beginning, then you would know that during the initial days of the series, BL and Bingo shared the same room with each of the sisters having their own bed. One detail that always caught our attention on their letter of each of the two girls' names on Blue's bed. The B is uppercase as she's the older sister, and on Bingo's bed, the B was always lowercase even when they slept in separate rooms, and you can see the difference. Burger shop. We see Bandit trying to convince the girls to leave the bathtub, but Bluey and Bingo end up convincing Bandit to join and play with them a little longer when Chili threatens to get into the tub to remove everything from it. Something weird happens. Bandit's head changes color as everyone knows Bandit is blue, just like Bluey, but both of them have a slightly darker shade of blue on their heads, and Bandit's head is entirely blue. But if you pause the scene at the right moment, you'll see that his head quickly changes to name a little longer when Chile threatens to get into the tub to remove everything from it. Something weird happens. Bandit's air, so everyone knows Bandit is blue. Just like Bluey, but both of them have a slightly darker shade of blue on their heads, and Bandit's head is entirely blue. But if you pause the scene at the right moment, you'll see that his head quickly changes from half dark to half light blue. That's a weird looking Bandit right there. So, in the episode The Creek, something weird happens with Mackenzie, but before we look at this error, we have to take a look at Mackenzie's appearance. He has black and white fur, and his two hind legs have different colors, with the left one having more black fur and the right one having more white fur. But in the episode, something funny occurs near the end as they return from their trip to the creek. Everyone gets dirty and has mud on their feet, but hold on, look at Mackenzie's legs. They were both normal in one scene, but suddenly they both turned white in the... Moving on. Every Bluey fan knows that Bandit is like a bigger version of Bluey. But besides their size difference, there are some other minor differences between them as well. Despite being mostly blue, Bandit has a different color on one part of his body. Do you know what it is? Bandit's belly has a yellowish hue in the stomach area, but something weird happened with his stomach in the episode Takeaway where he walks with his belly's normal color. But when he turns around, his belly's all blue. But get the animation error for a second. The cool part in this scene is that Bandit and Bluey turned out the same way, like father, like daughter again, going back. One of the most beloved episodes of Bluey is Baracus and Bumpy, where Bluey and others try to make a movie for Bingo while she's in the hospital. The film unfolds throughout the episode, and in the end all the superstars involved in the film do the typical thank you that actors do at the end of a play for their audience. And that's when something very strange happens. Muffin, who participates in the play, is wearing a chef's hat, because that was her role in the film. In the final scene, we see that the hat falls slightly over her eyes because it's too big, but if you pause at the right moment, you'll see that one of her eyes is covered. Be the hat and the other is above it. Now that's a funny error. Another small detail we found was in the episode library where Muffin goes to visit her cousins, and they are playing in a library. And Bluey shows Muffin that they even have a heart-shaped stamp to mark people's library cards when they borrow and return books. And we notice that this card with the heart-shaped stamp is on top of another piece of pink paper. However, right after that, when Blue is making the library card for Muffin, we see that the positions of the pink papers are switched, and the paper with the heart stamp is under the other paper without a stamp. A small continuity error. Now let's go to the episode Horse Ride, where the girls decide to play one of the most creative and absurd games in all of BL's episodes. They're simply playing with their parents, Bandit and Stripe, pretending they're not dogs anymore but horses. At a certain point they have the brilliant idea to marry the two horses, complete with music and a veil. And apart from the obvious mistake of marrying two sibling horses, we also see another animation mistake in Bandit, who is the bride in the game. Remember that at the beginning of the video, we mentioned that Bandit's head is mostly dark blue. When Stripe is entering the wedding ceremony, we notice that Bandit's head is completely light blue, but then it goes back to its normal. In one episode, we noticed a small detail related to this family characteristic. The girls decide to play hotel, and they are at the top of the stairs leading to the first floor. And when they pick up the laundry basket, we see that right above their heads, slightly to the side, there's a picture of a ball on a beach. But in the next scene, we see something completely different. Instead of the beach picture, there's a photo that looks like it's of Blue. And in case you're thinking that maybe the beach picture was supposed to be below, we see that, right? Below the picture of Blue, there's actually a green background indicating that it's neither sand nor seawater. This one almost went unnoticed in that same... In the episode Seesaw, where we follow Blue's attempt to defeat Bandit, who is heavier than all of them, and sits on the seesaw to tease the pups, when Bingo and Blue realize they need help to defeat Bandit. They call their friends to sit on the seesaw. One of their friends is Coco. When Bluey calls Coco, you can clearly see that she has a pair of eyelashes in her eyes. The problem is that when they call Pom Pom to help, and we look back at Coco, she no longer has eyelashes. They simply disappeared. Moving on in the episode Mum School, we can see Bluey, and as she walks through the living room followed by her mom, chilly, she kicks a yellow balloon. At that moment, two strange things can be seen, which we can consider two quite obvious animation errors. The first error happens at the exact moment when Bluey kicks the yellow balloon. Unsurprisingly, the balloon moves before Blue even kicks. Did the balloon anticipate the hit and moved ahead of time? Or was one of the animators a bit too hasty? The second error follows right after the first one. In the same scene as she kicks the balloon, Bluey kind of slides. Best moonwalking style of singer Michael Jackson jokes aside, this sliding movement of Bluey looks very odd and unnatural. If there's one character that... If you enjoyed the video, you can choose between these two videos to watch. Don't forget to like and subscribe.